What a delight it is to be here today to talk to anyone on the planet about holistic health. It's a big passion of mine because I see it's a direct relationship that we have with the planet itself right now. And if anyone's flipped on the news lately, we understand that there's a lot of situations on the planet right now that aren't in balance. And holistic health is all about balance. And when we find balance and harmony, then we can have a healthy, happy life. And ultimately, diabetes is just something that is out of balance. Does that make sense? And so I like to keep everything very simple. I like to talk about first principles. First principles can be thought about as air, water, food, sunshine, soil, these basic elements that sustain life. And so I believe that we've gotten a little far away from the natural elements of life. I have a spiritual connection. I believe in God, not necessarily a religious connection. However, I believe that we've lost our spiritual connection as a species. And I believe that there is a direct connection through nature. And so what I teach mostly in holistic health is really just getting back to nature and the natural aspects of life as much as possible. So the name of this presentation that I've put together for you guys today is The Last 4 Doctors You Will Ever Need. The last 4 doctors you will ever need. And so I'm a Czech-trained professional. I'm a holistic lifestyle coach. I also work with the Amazon Herb Company. I've been working in the Amazon with plant medicine for the past 6.5 years. And I'm also the Certified Health Nut. It's the name of my holistic lifestyle brand on the internet. You can find all my videos on the internet. I've got over 100 videos on health and consciousness, a lot of research in the Amazon, and a lot of interviews with prominent people in the holistic lifestyle field. So let's get to it. Has anyone ever heard that knowledge is power? Right? But ultimately the higher ground to that is knowledge applied is power. Right? So it's not just the knowledge, we have to actually apply it. And the best place to apply it is our own bloodstream. Anybody ever hear the statement, you gotta love yourself before you can love anybody else? Well, ultimately, you know, that's kind of a nebulous statement. I mean, what does it mean? And how do I actually love myself? Well, I say one of the best ways to love yourself is ultimately to be healthy. To be healthy, and health isn't just a physical attribute. Health is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Those are the 4 bodies we possess in this third-dimensional world. I have pictures with my shirt off because I believe if you're going to learn about health, you should learn from healthy people, right? I'm 46 years old. I haven't been to the gym in 4.5 years. I've got 2 new kids. I've got a newborn and a 4.5-year-old, and if anybody knows anything about kids and sleep, raise your hand. So I like going to the gym. However, for the last 4.5 years, I haven't had the time and the opportunity because I haven't been rested enough. My physiological stress loads are too high to go in and do strenuous exercise will be too much more for my system. So ultimately, I've been able to maintain my health and my physique with walking and powerful nutrition. And I believe that a re-education around what actually food is paramount to understanding diabetes, cancer, obesity, any basic maladies that we are dealing with and health statistics that we are dealing with can be directly related to the food and the soil on this planet. Because we are of the earth, we are of the soil, we are made up of soil. When you eat a pile of food, you want to ask yourself, can this pile of food make a set of eyeballs? Can it make a spinal cord? Can it make a nervous system? Can it make my heart beat? Right? Does that make sense? So if it's day glow made out of plastic or things you can't pronounce, it may not be designed to actually make a set of lips to kiss your girlfriend, right? Or a tongue to taste that food, right? Does that make sense? Is that common sense? Now I know common sense has been thrown out the window for television. However, I'm here to inspire some common sense on the planet in 2012. Can you follow me? Can I get an amen? Amen. Hallelujah. All right, so knowledge applied is power. See, after you learn this today, we want to go home and apply it. And if you miss a beat, you can find me on the internet, right? Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food. Anybody ever hear that before? It's a 3rd century BC philosopher. The whole medical industry is set up on the premise of the Hippocratic Oath. Right? Does anybody know what the Hippocratic Oath is? Do no harm. So all doctors who only study about 2 weeks of nutrition, anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks of nutrition, basically take a Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. And then a lot of drugs that are on the market have side effects, and side effects is a marketing gimmick. There's no such thing as a side effects, they're only effects, and they're usually toxic effects. Does that make sense? Right? Side effects is a marketing gimmick. So this is an ancient philosopher that said, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. I believe that God never has not forsaken us. We have forsaken him. And ultimately what? For the science report that we hear on the media, that this, that, and the other thing is good or bad for you. However, these are wild berries I picked in Yosemite National Park. Do you think you need a science experiment to find out if those things are good for you? Anybody? Anybody? God created those things right there. So eat them, whole foods. If you eat according to the dictates of nature, you don't get sick. Who's Paul Chek? Paul Chek is the preeminent strength training coach on the face of the planet. So who is this guy? What does he look like? He's 50 years old, and he can press a 120-pound dumbbell with one hand over his head. So this is a good person to listen to. He wrote a book called How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. I recommend beings purchase this book and read it if they want to beat anything in their life, whether it's a health statistic or they just want to be optimally healthy in this day and age when the soils are depleted, the air is polluted, the waters are polluted as well. So we have to know, if we want to be optimally healthy, we have to know how to clean these pollutants out of our tissues as well. And so this is one of his students. And again, it's about being healthy. And if you are healthy, share the love, share your experience. I've been working in the Amazon for the last 6.5 years. Yes, there are herbs that can be considered the silver bullet. This is good for that. However, in natural and holistic medicine, we don't treat this for that. We go to the root cause of everything, and we deal with that. We don't treat symptomology. However, there are some plants that are well known, especially for blood sugar. 2 of them are known as Pata de Vaca and Pedrohum Ka. Over $7 million spent on those plants. They're known as vegetable insulin. However, as they standardized and isolated the phytochemistry that was good for insulin, it became so toxic that they had to scrap the research. So there are plants that are good for you down there. You can find these on the line, on the Amazon Herbs line. It's AmazonHerbsSite.com. These 2 plants are in the Metabazon formula. There's also, and I brought these 2 formulas here as well. There's also wild stevia. Has anybody heard of stevia before? It's 100 times sweeter than sugar. However, it helps to balance out blood sugar. Very powerful plant. And it doesn't affect the glycemic index whatsoever. Cinnamon is another one. It has insulin-like effects. And then, of course, garlic and onions have great effects on the blood sugar. But ultimately, this is still treating symptoms. This for that. This will help. However, you've got to go back to basic principles. So the last 4 doctors that you'll ever need, Dr. Diet. It is my responsibility to teach people what is actually food, because most of the things being sold on the market are not food. For example, a lot of people, have you heard that red meat is bad for you? right? However, anthropologically, when you look at the human species, we were hunters and gatherers. And for hundreds of thousands of years, we ate game that was red meat. However, what did these animals eat? They ate grass. They didn't eat grain that was sitting in silos that was creating mycotoxins, which is a highly toxic element. Also, multiple stomach animals creates gas in their stomachs. Gas in their stomachs creates acidosis in their blood. Acidosis in their blood creates acidosis in your blood. Acidosis in your blood is one of the 3 main factors of cancer, which is acidosis in the blood, lower poor circulation, and lower no will to live, right? That's where the red meat is bad for you. So if you're going to eat animals, make sure that they're hormone-free, organic, free-range, grass-fed. It's a completely different ballgame when we start to define what is real food. Why do all the Latin American people come up here and eventually get obese and diabetes? My hypothesis is that they're eating food that's not really food. Their staple part of their diet is corn. 90% of the corn in the United States is genetically modified. Genetically modified organisms are organisms that have structures of pesticides and herbicides woven in to their genetic structure. So when you put them into your body, you're putting elements like Agent Orange, which was developed for the Vietnam War. It was an herbicide to burn down the jungle. Does any of this make sense to people? Does it make sense? Because this is the truth. And this has been put into the food supply. And so people are eating these genetic mutations and they are becoming mutants. This is my hypothesis. Do I have any double-blind, over-analyzed studies to back that up? No, there's not enough money and research to go into that because 5 agribusinesses run the way things get said on the news and the media. However, once again, we're going back to common sense, right? These are basic common sense principles. If you're eating real food, then you shouldn't be sick, right? It's as simple as that. You want to know the biggest cure for diabetes? Get off sugar. Get off grains, carbohydrates, and sugars. And I will bet you over $1,000, anyone in this room, if they get off the sugars, carbohydrates, and diabetes, I mean, their diabetes symptomology will go away. Probably within 14 days to 30 days. And I know this because I was on the antifungal diet. And the antifungal diet is basically just that. It's meat and veggies. We don't have the staples in there, and we're used to eating those staples. So what is real food? Organic produce, grass-fed beef, free-range pork and chicken without hormones or antibiotics. Sea salt, not sodium chloride. Table salt is not salt. They take all the other trace minerals out and they sell them as fish food. Right? They sell them to pet stores, and then they give you the sodium chloride, and that's what creates high blood pressure and all these other things. Define real food, people. When we're talking about food, let's define real food. So butter, olive oil, coconut oil, these things, if they're grass-fed animals and they're organic. Organic's not a tag word. Organic is a real concept. Eat real food and you will go back to being healthy. It's as simple as that, people. It's not complicated. You don't need double-blind studies. Double-blind studies make people doubly blind. The 4 white devils: white sugar, white salt, white pasteurized dairy, and white flour. Eliminate those things from your diet, period. Most people are gluten intolerant. Gluten is a phytic acid. It's an enzyme inhibitor to make sure that you basically don't eat the plant, and the plant procreates. When you poop it out, it germinates and it'll grow more plants, basically. That's the way phytic acids were designed in nature. And so grains basically need to be soaked to get the phytic acids off of them. This is probably too much information. However, just eliminate the gluten from your diet. Just cut to the chase. Just cut to the chase, simply. I mean, I could sit around here and pussyfoot all day long, but the fact of the matter is the way I maintain my health and the way I can look ripped at 46 years old without going to the gym is because diet. Diet's at least 75% of your health, if not more. And so define what food is and stay away from the 4 white devils. Does that make sense, everybody? The fungal diet. I recommend writing this book down and finding out. We all basically have fungal infections. It just depends on our ability to manage them. And we're in symbiotic relationship with microbes, pathogens, and funguses. And so sugar feeds fungus, right? And the fungus goes into your brain. And the fungus can run your thoughts if there's a fungal overload. Get this book, read the fungal link. The fungal diet is an anti-diabetes diet as well. So definitely get hip to this and let some other professionals elaborate on what I'm discussing. Water, drink half your body weight in ounces, and I mean pure water. Get a filtration system on your tap water, and or if you live in the country and you have access to spring, bottle it up in glass and count your lucky stars, because you're a fortunate human being to have pure water at this stage of the game. But we need to stay hydrated. So that's Dr. Diet and the last 4 doctors that you'll ever need. I started with it first because we need a re-education on what actually food is, right? But the most important doctor I'm going to get to in a second. When you apply these principles, you can create happy, healthy life. This is my family. This is my daughter at the farmer's market. Very healthy kids. People stop me in the street all the time. And this is no gimmick. This isn't just genetics. This is something I practice and preach every single day. I only eat organic food, and I stay away from the grains and sugar myself as much as possible. The point to keep in mind is that you don't lose fat because you cut calories. You lose fat because you cut out the foods that make you fat, the carbohydrates. Does anybody know what they give animals to fatten them up before they go to market? Like cows and stuff, pigs. You know what they give them? Grain. They fatten animals up with grain, right? So what do you think grains do to you? They make you fat. Gary Taubes wrote a whole book. It's very cutting edge on sugar right now, because the old paradigm is based in the law of thermodynamics, basically calories in and calories out, which is basically the philosophy is that a bunch of fat Americans are stupid and just watching too much TV. But the fact of the matter is the food chain's been messed with. And we've been promoted products with grains in them and grains themselves. And now with high fructose corn syrup, it's crazy what's going on out there. Because the high fructose corn syrup, again, is coming from the genetically modified corn. Dr. John Biaffa told us that 1 teaspoon of sugar shuts down or inhibits immune function for approximately 6 hours, opening up for infections and diseases. Right? Does everybody get that? 1 teaspoon of sugar inhibits the immune system. So sugar, people, it's as simple as that. I could pussyfoot around all day long, or you can go take blood tests over here, this, that, and the other thing. It's the sugar, the grains, and the high fructose corn syrup. Flat out. I'm going to open up for questions in a few minutes. Right? I can't stress it enough. It's the sugar. You want to beat diabetes, get off the sugar. Flat out. Sugar and grains. I'd be lying to you if I told you anything less. And I'm a man of this earth, and I have integrity, and I love everyone in this room, and I care deeply about the human species. If I told you anything else, I'd be lying. High fructose corn syrup. Danger, danger, danger. It subjugates a process in the liver that creates a fatty liver. Right? You ever hear of that? Someone who's an alcoholic? Right? So basically, it's like being an alcoholic without the buzz. So why not just be an alcoholic? And I was an alcoholic, so I do have a form of diabetes in my human template that I beat. Right? I beat it spiritually though. Because I connected on a deeper level. Most high fructose corn syrup comes from GMO corn. It's very dangerous. High fructose corn syrup's in everything. It's in ketchups, mayonnaise, soda pops, you name it. They now have soda pop with stevia in it. Switch to that. Sugar is a class A drug, right? It's the same centers that heroin or cocaine are in the brain. So I'm not here to tell everyone to just, boom, get off sugar, but start switching to natural substances, fruits, raw honey. Start going in that direction first, as much as you can. Find a holistic health practitioner like myself, or the hundreds of videos that are on YouTube, and start educating yourself. Because how did I start out this presentation earlier? Knowledge applied is power. So become knowledgeable about your own blood chemistry. No one's a victim here. Reclaim your power. Reclaim your power by understanding the knowledge. So switch to natural sugars first, but be very vigilant about putting genetically modified organisms into your body, because they are mutations, and you put them into your body will store a lipid structure around them, which is basically fat. And then the body is starving because there's no nutrition. So it wants more nutrition, so it eats more. So it stores these foreign substances, and eats more, and stores these foreign substances, saying that I will deal with this later. That's how the body works. And so you want to make sure that you're eating real food, because it's going to make all the difference in the world. Our findings lend support to the theory that the excessive consumption of high fructose corn syrup found in many beverages may be an important factor in the obesity epidemic. Princeton University research team. I would never feed, knowingly, high fructose corn syrup to my child, for we are all a child of God. Don't feed it to yourself. I'm serious, people. This is an important subject, or all these people wouldn't be here. This whole subject wouldn't be here. And it's all, we can sidestep all this stuff easy. Just get back to nature. Get back to what real food is. This is a child of God. This is my child. I would not feed her genetically modified organisms or high fructose corn syrup knowingly. Until man duplicates a blade of grass, nature can laugh at his so-called scientific knowledge. Remedies from chemicals will never stand in favor compared with the products of nature, the living cell of the plant, the final result of the rays of the sun, the mother of all life. It's Thomas Edison. That guy, he's got tons of inventions, right? Let's not be so arrogant and ignorant that we can replace what God created. We put a seed in the ground and it fruits. Food is free when we get back to the basics of these. You guys can all start gardens as well. Food is free. Yes, it costs money to bring it to market, but ultimately food is free. I recommend going to your farmer's market. They aren't labeling these genetically modified organisms in the United States. They've been banned in France, all over Europe, in India, and Japan, and it's mandatory labeled if it's genetically modified. In the United States, it's not. If you see someone in the back right here, sign that document. Because if you're getting obese, if you're getting symptomology of a sick society, I guarantee you are ingesting genetically modified, genetically engineered organisms. And I believe that they're proliferating into the food chain, and you're getting them no matter what. So I recommend signing that document back there to get this on the ballot, so we can at least get them labeled. If these elements are so good for human consumption, why don't the corporations and the government label them? Because they're ashamed and they're afraid, and they know that when people know that they're getting poison in their food, they will stop buying it. And commerce dictates the material world. You want your vote to really count? Start voting with your dollars, and apply that vote to your own bloodstream. Is this purchase going to be good for my bloodstream? That's what you want to ask, because your bloodstream is a direct symbiotic relationship to the planet Earth. What is good for you is good for the Earth. Make no mistake, if you flip over the label and there's more than 5 ingredients or you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Warning, this is what they should look like. Labels that should be on the food. Warning, genetically modified. Soybeans, corn, cotton, canola. Sweet corn. There's my son protesting. He's 4 years old. He knows what time it is. No GMOs, baby. Okay, now we're going to get to Dr. Quiet, the chief physician. Why is Dr. Quiet the chief physician? is in the domain of rest, sleep, meditation, relaxation, prayer, contemplation, not neurotic looping of what's wrong with me or what are my problems. Contemplation of solutions of where I need to go from here, whatever my issues are, and to be quiet enough to hear the answers, and then be brave enough to heed what must be done, right? So Dr. Quiet is the chief physician. We have to get rest, and we have to be quiet enough to hear what our body is telling us. Dr. Quiet, the chief physician, is the antidote to stress. And remember that stress releases cortisol. Cortisol shuts down digestion and stores fat. Cortisol is the fight or flight response from a lion chasing us. And we don't know the difference between the boss yelling at us, a lion chasing us, or our blood sugar being depressed, or us being hungry, because that's a stress on our physiological system. So it releases cortisol, shuts down, and stores fat. So we want to manage our stress as much as possible. And the best way to do that is to be quiet, get rest, get into nature, contemplation, prayer, whatever floats your boat. So the circadian rhythms, very important. Ultimately, we are rising and falling with the sun. Ideally, everyone should be in bed by 10 p.m. I know we live in a society that doesn't necessarily support that. However, if your dream, and I'll get to that in a second, if your dream is to be healthy, not asymptomatic or not disease-free, but to be healthy, to be strong, to be cognizant for my children and my grandchildren, to not end up in a nursing home. If my dream is to be healthy, then it may be in your highest and best interest to get to bed by 10 p.m. Dr. Quiet's nemesis is the caffeine sugar cycle. Anybody familiar with that? When we have no energy, we reach towards the energy that's available, which is caffeine. And then sugar, and then caffeine, and then sugar. And then it's a loop, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And our weight goes up and down. And our mood goes up and down. Right? Is anybody familiar with that? When health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself. Art cannot manifest. Strength cannot fight. Wealth becomes useless. And intelligence cannot be applied. Has anybody looked in the news lately? They don't cover a lot of this, but it's all over the internet. In the fall, most of the population of planet Earth, and especially the United States, people rose up. They were sick of the corporations infiltrating Washington and dictating and mandating policy. It's time to stop this stuff. Corporations have put chemical contamination in the air, water, and soil, and the Wall Street investors have taken away people's homes, and the banking is all set up for debt and slavery. And the time is coming to an end, and the people are revolting. This is another protest I did on GMOs with the Aztec Indians at the federal building. People are rising up because inherently there is something wrong, and people understand that at a very deep level. It's up to us to wake up. Jobs Not War. This is one of the many war protests that we had for the Iraq War. Hey, thanks for coming, guys. And all the policies being made in Washington. If anybody's been watching Ron Paul and listening to what he has to say, basically the constituency and the presidency and everything else has been hijacked by who has the most money. So, you know, this is what the Germans think of us right here. God bless America. There's a cross and it's got a machine gun coming out of it with George Bush on it, right? Ultimately, this is what our society's coming down to. It's all scientifically validated. How do you figure? Bunch of nonsense. So Dr. Movement. Dr. Movement's very important. I'm not going to get into it very much. Fitness is an aspect of life. However, you should all be moving your body because your body, when you move it, it moves your lymph. You are 70% water. What is a pile of water that sits in one area and doesn't move? It's called a cesspool. One of the biggest and easiest ways to move your body is walking. And it has a direct effect on insulin and the way your body functions. And it's the way we were designed to move through time and space. Walking is very simple. Get some good shoes or take your shoes off and go in the park. Go on the beach and just move your body. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Do it daily. Take your kids, take your grandma. Do it as much as possible. It's the way God designed the human body to move through time and space. Other exercise programs can put higher stress levels on the body. Yes, they will release endorphins that make you feel good. However, it can also release cortisol, which is more stress, which is not what you want if you have diabetes or any other kind of disease. The most simplest walking program, guys, the most simplest exercise program is simply walking. So that's what I advocate, is just get out there and walk, period. So walking is primal patterning. It also improves the way insulin functions in the body. This is me walking in the park with my baby every day. And this is me doing Tai Chi, which is another form of movement that is non-strenuous. If you can get your hands on some good instruction, you see a bunch of the Asians in your park doing it, get them to teach you. It's very, very good for the human body. However you get your movement, it doesn't matter. Just get it. When you violate biological processes, there is a price to pay. Dr. Happiness, what do you love? It's only when our lifestyle is in alignment with our values that we are truly happy. Who wants happiness in their life? What else are we here for on the planet? I mean, come on now. We got to get back to, our spiritual reason for being on the planet. We all deserve happiness. And our birthright is health. Find people that teach holistic, real health, not treating symptomology. The information's out there. Do you love art? Do you love dancing? Do you love singing? Taking care of babies, taking care of the elderly, philosophy, the beach, walking, being social. Who likes to be social? I got to go every single day and have a cup of tea down at my organic cafe. There's a bunch of filmmakers down there that I connect with. I got to have that for my soul. It's something I love to do. So I practice doing what I love as much as possible. I like to take cold showers. Do you like teaching guitar, piano, drums, hiking, camping, traveling, writing? What do you love to do? You don't need a book deal to write. Just journal. Right? It's been said, do what you love and the money will follow. Has anybody heard that before? Does our society support that? No, so you have to go out there and blaze your own trail. I've been fortunate enough to have this experience in my life. I like to live on the beach and I like to have all my free time and I like to ride my bicycle every day and I don't like to have a job and I don't drive in traffic. And that's my lifestyle. Why? Because I created it. I created it from here first, out of my heart, of what I love. And now I get to teach people what I love to do, which is just be healthy. I'd like to teach people the truth. Imagine a world where everyone did what they loved and enjoyed. Imagine that. What would the world be like? This is my most important question to you guys. What is your dream? When you get in touch with your dream, then crises don't matter. When you dream big enough, crises don't come in your life because they're easily overcome. If you don't know your dream, figure out your nightmare and work backwards. I do this professionally. People pay me hundreds of dollars an hour to hear this advice. I recommend heeding it. This is cutting edge. Find out what your dream is. Work from there. Find the holistic principles on the internet. They're never gonna go away. These are base first principles for living on planet Earth. What are your core values? Family, health, vitality? Do you want to look and feel sexy? Do you want to have sex when you're 75? Have you thought about it? Because I have, right? What's more enjoyable than an orgasm? Right? And it's our birthright, right? Has anybody had an orgasm out there? You like it? It's fun? It's good, right? It's our birthright. You got to be healthy and vital to have that, right? Because the first thing that goes out the window with stress is your sex hormones. A body that's stressed or diseased doesn't have sex hormones. What is the legacy you will leave on this earth for your grandchildren's grandchildren? When your dream is big enough, you don't need a crisis. This is my dream, peace on earth. It is my dream to help humans reclaim their power by understanding first principles. Clean air, water, soil, and food is our birthright. And healthy food equals a healthy human body. Our symbiotic relationship to the planet and each other, creating respect, reverence, and ultimately peace on earth. This is my dream. This is what I'm here to do. And this is what I will do. If you let the government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as the souls who live under tyranny. Thomas Jefferson. Be cognizant of what you're putting in your bloodstream, people. Vote with your dollars. I'm all over the internet. You can find my information there if you want more questions. And if people want to ask questions right now, they have a microphone that's live.
If you want to hang around for a question and answer period, Troy Casey, you have so much passion. And I look at you and I look at me and I go, I don't know if I could ever look like that, but it's wonderful listening to you. We do have some questions.
It's never too late, baby.
I would like to know, what is the substitute you say for sugar? Did you say stevia?
Well, stevia is a known sweetener that doesn't have any effect on the glycemic index. It's a wild plant that grows in the Amazon. And remember, anything that you source nutritionally, you know, I specialize in herbs from the Amazon, which are considered supplements, but they're not really supplements, they're whole foods. Anything that you have that you're going to buy, you want to look at the ingredients, because stevia has dextrose in it in a lot of the commercial brands. And dextrose is just another name for sugar. So you want to source the best possible that you can. Stevia is a wild plant that grows in the Amazon. It's 100 times sweeter than sugar. However, it works to balance out your blood sugar. It's not just a sweetener. And I didn't touch on aspartame and the synthetic sweeteners, but they are dangerous neurotoxins. Stay away from anything that's in the blue. Just stay away from anything that's unnatural, but definitely stay away from NutraSweets. Any diet colas or diet sodas. If you're going to buy a soda, buy something with stevia in it or cane sugar. I like cane sugar better than I do synthetic. I like cane sugar better than I do high fructose corn syrup. However, cane sugar is still going to affect your glycemic index. You got to be cognizant of that. However, if it's one or the other, take the cane sugar, take the natural as much as possible.
We have a question here.
Yes, I like raw honey. I like raw honey, but don't be fooled, it's still going to spike your glycemic index. So, but if you're moving if you're moving into natural, into holistic, then raw honey is the best. And raw honey, not the reconstituted cooked honey, because that's going to have the same effect as high fructose corn syrup on your bloodstream. Raw honey. You're going to have to source things at the health food store or the farmer's market. Start frequenting farmer's markets now. I highly recommend that.
Okay, we have.
Hello, Mr. Casey. I have fibromyalgia, and I was told not to use stevia, not to use anything that's that even stevia will affect my fibromyalgia. And I'm thinking maybe because you're saying that some stevia has glucose in it, is that what you said? I missed your presentation. Yes. So how do I know if it's pure enough for me to take with my fibromyalgia?
Well, as a holistic health practitioner, I don't treat symptomology. However, I understand that you're dealing with X, Y, and Z. Maybe it's called fibromyalgia, this, that, or the other thing. I understand that. And if you're under the care of a doctor, I'm not here to conflict their necessary protocols, unless, of course, we're talking about holistic, God-given food.
How do I tell if I'm buying stevia that doesn't have the artificial stuff in it, or if I'm buying pure natural stevia? Because they say it's all natural, but really it isn't.
Well, you just read the ingredients. The ingredients are on the label, and you want to source the best. I don't know what's available in the health food stores because I buy my Amazonian plants from the website, AmazonHerbsite.com. I know this company has very pure products. There's nothing but stevia that's extracted from there. And so you're always doing the best that you can. However, if someone has a major X, Y, and Z symptomology, one thing or another isn't necessarily going to get them healthy. Holistic health is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And on the physical side of it is what my presentation was all about, is really understanding what food is and the biochemical match for your own human biochemistry, which is organic, natural food. It's as simple as that. However, in the commercial world, it will require you to read every single label and eat a whole food diet religiously, and educate yourself and change your whole lifestyle around that, including gutting your cabinets of all processed and packaged foods. Basically, we should all, the best way to be healthy is to gut your cabinets of all commercial food and start shopping at farmers markets and sourcing good meats and shopping every 2 to 4 days. And just by learning and applying natural health principles. And how much amount of time?
I did want to make a statement to this lady regarding the stevia. I was concerned about it also. So I came early, had my blood glycemic, measured. It measured at 116, fasting on a 12-hour day. I drank 2 of those stevia samples, the vanilla and the chocolate, waited 2 hours, went back and had my blood thing, and I was down to 114. So it obviously does not raise the sugar. And also, the question I wanted to ask you is, how safe, because I know red beef is really not good.
I covered that.
Oh, well, I just missed it. How safe would game meat be? Venison, antelope, buffalo, lion?
Okay, so I covered this in the beginning of my presentation in defining what real food is. I don't have to take off my shirt, but I usually do to make the point. And I'm in better shape than the picture. However, I eat red meat maybe sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. And so the fact of the matter is we're all individuals. I recommend doing your metabolic type and finding out what your proper fuel mixture is. I look at us anthropologically and what our ancestors did before farming was even around. And we hunted and gathered. And the things that were available for gathering were wild herbs. A lot of the stuff I specialize in the Amazon. Some berries, some fruits, some nuts, and some seeds. But this is basically what our digestive tract has evolved with for millions of years, or hundreds of thousands of years. Farming's only been around for 10,000 years. So here's the thing on red meat. Red meat right now, and for the last 40, 50, 60 years of commercial farming has had feedlots or troughs with grain before they bring the animals to market. This fattens the animal up, and it marbleizes the fats and the meats. And so it's for market purpose, it's for commercial purposes. These grains are sitting in silos, and they trade them on Wall Street as commodities. And so they can sit in silos for long periods of time, and they can get moisture. And moisture creates fungus. And these funguses are known as mycotoxins, which are highly toxic. And they are not allowed to sell these grains to human populations. However, they can sell them to farms that feed them to the animals. And so the animals get these mycotoxins in them. Also, grains create gas in multiple stomach animals. Also, grains create gas in most humans. 90 or 80 or 70% of people that have celiac disease or gluten intolerance don't even know that they're aware of it. I only went gluten-free a year and a half ago, and all my gas and inflammation went away almost overnight. And so we're not really designed to eat these grains, and the animals aren't either. They're designed to eat grass. They have multiple stomachs, so they can digest these grasses. And so when multiple stomach animals eat grain, it creates acidosis in their blood. Acidosis in their blood creates acidosis in your blood. Acidosis in your blood is one of the 3 main factors of cancer. Right? So this is kind of more of the correlate, or the correlation to that. Now, I'm not advocating red meat is good for you, or you. However, it's good for me, and my body likes it. And I only source grass-fed animals, or game animals, or bison, right? So it becomes a different ball game when you say red meat. Because red meat to her, and red meat to me, may be 2 different things. Does it? Right? So let's define food. You know, has anybody ever heard that salt's bad for you? Define salt. Are we talking about table salt that's sodium chloride with the trace minerals taken out of the sea salt? Or are we talking about Celtic sea salt? Or rock salt? Or Himalayan salt? Define salt. Most traditional cultures, my wife's Korean, and her mother comes over and makes seaweed soup after the children are born to put minerals back into her body. The kimchis are designed for enzymatic and gut health. There's natural medicine is built into the traditional cultures. And when I usually ask people about their grandparents or the grandparents themselves, these natural elements were already in the society. You didn't have to come and hear a holistic health practitioner teach you about food, nutrition, and health, because it was already embedded into the culture. Right? Am I making sense? So when we talk about salt, 85 years ago or 75 years ago, it's a completely different ballgame. It's not the commercialized salt that you see on the market today. Does that make sense?
We have 3 more questions.
Yeah, 2 questions all day long.
Yes, I'd like to know which is the best water, alkaline water or distilled?
The best water is from a spring. You can find a good spring where you can fill up water jugs, get on it. I know people that base their whole life around that. And if you can actually go to findaspring.com. And the DWP actually closed the springs up in this county and in Topanga. They'll fine you for using it. And this is our birthright. That's why we got to wake up, people. We got to start reclaiming our power as individuals. So the best water is spring. Now, if you're dealing with a municipal water supply, it's good to be cognizant that you're having homeopathic doses of feces, urine, tampons, toilet paper, and drugs. This is common knowledge you can look up on the internet, the LA Times, Wall Street Journal. This is common knowledge. You're ingesting drugs, homeopathic versions, even if you have a filtration system on your municipal water supply. So without being neurotic, which is a mental disorder, you want to be cognizant of this. Get the best filtration system in your house. Quadruple filtration is the best filtration. Then you want to put some sea salt in it to kind of structure it and do the best thing that you can. Drink the least amount of water out of plastic because the exposure to plastic affects hormones and the endocrine system. They're endocrine disruptors. So I'm here talking, my voice is getting dry and I need water, so I'm not going to deny myself the nutrition of water because I'm splitting hairs because I don't want plastic exposure. So I'm going to drink water. You always do the best you can in the moment. However, if you want to source spring on findaspring.com and start working your way towards that, if you can afford, I think it's Mountain Valley, I think if you can afford Mountain Valley spring, Mountain Valley in a glass bottle is the most expensive and probably one of the most available ones on the commercial market.
Troy, we're closing in 5 minutes.
Okay.
And people are asking for your card, how they get in touch with you.
Yes.
And I've got one more question for you, but how do people get a hold of you? Do you have a card?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me at certifiedhealthnut.com or troycasey.com. Certifiedhealthnut.com. troycasey.com, certifiedhealthnut.com. I'm all over the internet. I've got over 100 videos on health and consciousness. Thanks for showing up, guys. Thanks for participating. Be healthy, brother.
The gentleman in the back just wants to know if there's any supplements that you recommend. He's going to write them down, like for people with diabetes.
Here you go. It's right there. AmazonHerbsite.com. Pata de Vaca, Pedro Junca, the Tabazon formula. And you can find the wild stevia on that site as well. Another good thing from that line, and I have brochures for this company if you want one. There's a product called Treasure Tea, which cleans the liver, the kidneys, and the blood, which is phenomenal to help balance out blood sugar. Guys,
let's give a big hand for Troy Casey. Such a passionate individual about living healthy and looking right. Thank you, Casey.